Hey, folks, we're back in the Lion's Den after taking a week off. We enjoyed Easter. Hope you did as well. We're tucked away in the heart of Florence, South Carolina, and you're now locked in the Lion's Den. Thank you for being with us. And we have a very special guest today. But before we get to our guests, and I say hello to our host, let's bring on our new addition, joined us a couple of weeks ago, my dear friend, the popular, the beautiful FLOTOWN FLO. Flo, can you hear us? Are you with us? Check, check. Not hearing you, Flo. 1 second. We might be having some technical difficulties.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Here we are. We got you now, Flo. Good deal.
You got
Welcome
me?
to the Lion's Den, Flo.
All right. Glad to be here, boys.
Good deal. I know
Well,
you've been jet setting all over the between the coast and the PD. And tell the good folks what we got going on this weekend.
Well, I am so excited. Today is the first day of Art Fields. I love that Art Fields Festival. It goes from today to May 2nd in Lake City. Visitors get to explore hundreds of artwork, vote on their favorites, and attend specialty events. And if you want to know more about what's going on and what's scheduled, go to artfieldssc.org. Also,
It is really such a
tonight
great
in
event, Flo. It's a great event.
Oh,
And our guest today, I'm going to ask him not to say anything at the moment, but we just talked about that. And he's en route tomorrow, I think, to, you might have said tonight, but for sure tomorrow he'll be out in Lake City. And once you see who we got, we hope you'll go out and say hello to him. What else we got, Flo? Sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right. Tonight in Florence, we got the PD Heart Ball over out there at the SIMT building from 6 to 11. And then, if you want to hear some music, you just go on over to Holy Smoking, the little patio out back at FMU's Me Ensemble Y2K Takeover. Music from Paradisus, 7 to 10. And if that's not your bag, then we got some more music for you. Analog Saints at the Locomotive Brewing. It's starting at 7.
All right.
So now I'm going to move on tomorrow. We got more art fields for you all day tomorrow. And then Farrah Turner Foundation 5K at Briggs Elementary, 9 a.m. Now I want to see all y'all boys out there running that 5K.
Hey, we talked about that too. Our guest is going to be there, and I'm contemplating running that 5K. I hadn't ran a 5K in 10 or 15 years, and this one was on my radar, so I might try that one out.
Awesome. Then after that, you can go on over to the City Center Farmers Market. They will be unveiling a mural for their new farm to table, and it's going to be unveiled at 10:30 in the morning. That's downtown at the City Center Farmers Market. And then if you want to paint a little bit tomorrow, you have 3 chances at Addie's Baby Paint Studio downtown. 11 a.m. you can paint the Easy Starry Night. At 2 o'clock you can paint Spring Beach scene. And at 6 you can paint a glow painting of a neon octopus. Now, I tell you what, I did an Addie's painting one time and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you've never done that, y'all need to go out there and try that.
We might get to see Jack Rock's skills in painting. That'd be interesting.
That's right. That's right. And then the Monster Jam starts tomorrow with the big monster trucks from noon and then at 6, 2 times, noon and 6 Saturday at the Florence Center. And then tomorrow's also the Florence Museum's free monthly family day from 1 to 3. And then if you want some more live music, go back to Locomotive Brewing from 3 to 5 tomorrow with D. Talon. And then after you've been exploring the arts fields all tomorrow, they're going to have a live music concert on the green from 7 to 9 featuring True Soul. So got a lot going on tomorrow. And then Sunday, from noon to 3 at Holy Smoking downtown, Fritz Fry. Got some more live music. And then another Monster Jam trucks at the 3 p.m. at the Florence Center. And then 3 to 7 on Sunday, you go on over to Darlington at the Terrence Caraway Park, and they're going to have all kind of things over there. It's free to the public, all ages welcome, free food, free drinks, games, inflatables, music, all kind of stuff going on over there. And then looking ahead now, that Greek festival's April 30th through May 2nd, and Frozen, the Broadway musical at Florence Little Theater, April 24th through May 3rd.
Oh,
Now,
Jimmy
that's all
Castillo
I
must
got
be
for
in your ear because I keep hearing you talk about the Greek festival. Is that Jimmy prompting you on that?
Yeah, but you know, we all Greek during the Greek festival.
Indeed.
Well, y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I hope I see y'all out there at the art fields.
Flo, I appreciate you keeping us in the know and continue your jet setting around our region.
All right, I certainly will. Bye, guys.
Bye. See you next week. That's our FLOTOWN Flo. I'll tell you, she's a busy, busy lady. All right, let's say hey to our co-host. Let's start with the one and only Zeb Boykin. Zeb, appreciate you being here today. Zeb's kind of our engineer. This is his studio, and I come here about 30 minutes early to prep guys, and he walks in about 2 minutes before we're supposed to go on, knowing that I'm sweating. But true to a Marine, he gets it done, so he's done it again. Say hello, Zeb. What's on your mind today?
Oh, man, I just enjoy having Rodney stressing out. You know, I can't let him live life comfortably, right? You know, this is the Marine motto: is to adapt and overcome. That's what I do constantly. He's been out so long that, you know, we got to get him back in the groove of being uncomfortable. Right? You get comfortable, you get lazy. Ain't that right, Rodney?
I remember Marines being punctual myself there, Devil Dog. Did you miss that?
You said yourself we were punctual. Close is close enough.
You're looking like a Marine with that haircut today.
Yeah, I cut it all off. I had to start over.
Zeb's got multi-talents. He's been taking care of one of his young ones here today, so I appreciate he fitting us in. And our other co-host, no other than, he can't hear me, and I brought this today so he can hear me, the famous Jack Rock. I also brought this in case you start pointing that little finger at me. Yeah.
Hey, I can't hear you.
That's right, you can. How's your week, Jack Rock?
Great week. Every week it's scary. What a wonderful life we live in.
Living it to the fullest, right?
Great die.
We got these T-shirts. I must have put mine to a side, but on the back of it, and this is what we do here. I subscribe to it. I know our guest does too. Thank you. But you ask and shall receive. The subscription of life is on the back, living your subscription of life, which we very much believe in. And on the front, we got 3 of the ugliest dudes I've ever seen. Hey, I gave one of these T-shirts to our guest, but I promise you he won't never wear it. Well, let's dive in. And our guest is going to be no strangers because he's beating the bush. He's everywhere. I've got to know our guest here just recently. Ryan, good to have you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Oh, man, thanks, guys, for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I know you live that subscription to life. And again, as I said, Flo, you're jet setting all across the area that you're looking to pick up some votes, and appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. And FLOTOWN FLO was saying a lot of the events that's coming up on my schedule. So encourage everybody to get out and enjoy those things.
So we'll have you. My girlfriend she made some comments because she's big in the Artsville here. But
oh yeah,
we talked about it earlier, so people can see you tomorrow at Artsville. Is that right?
Well, when I leave here, I'm going to go pick up my son from daycare, and we're heading straight to Lake City. Going to go see my friends and everybody down in Lake City, and we'll be there for the parade and the kickoff tonight in Lake City for Art Fields. We've always enjoyed that, and we'll be down there tonight and at several more times before the event's over with.
Outstanding, sir. And then another event that FLOTOWN told us about was the 5K. In our prior conversation, I You're going to slide out there for the 5K, huh?
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm going to be running it, Rodney.
That's
but
okay.
I think I might walk it at a nice clip, and I'll be out there. And of course, that's a great organization and foundation that I'm happy to support.
Yeah, no doubt. So we're going to dive in here with Ryan here in just a second, but I think the best way to start this introduction, we've stole a clip off of your website. Zeb, can you tee that up? I didn't ask permission. I assume it's okay because it was out there in public, right? Okay, good deal. Good deal.
New at 6:04, prison time for a man convicted of murder in Florence. Prosecutors say
for this man in connection with a deadly stabbing at a Florence County motel.
Prison time for this man who was found guilty of murder and armed robbery in Marion County.
My name is Ryan White, and I'm running for 12th Circuit Solicitor. In some professions, experience matters, and when it comes to the office of solicitor, there is no substitute for experience. As the violent crime prosecutor for the 12th Circuit, I fight every day to make sure that Florence and Marion counties are safe places to work, live, and raise a family. I am no stranger to the impact that violent crime has on our community, and I am no stranger to the courtroom. I am about action over words and deeds over rhetoric. And when it comes to the safety of the communities that we love, talk is cheap. Vote for me for 12th Circuit Solicitor, and let's get to work.
Outstanding, sir.
All right.
That shows a lot of strength.
I tell you
what. A lot of bearing.
I appreciate that. I think my media team made me look a little cooler than I actually am, but that sums it up. That really does.
You sitting next to Jack Rock, you're gonna rub off with some coolness. That's gonna happen.
Oh,
so focus on the strength part.
That's
okay.
Right. That's right.
Let's play this. Let's show this next because he got a big time important endorsement from a good friend of all of ours. Let's take a look at that. It's not a video, but yeah, tell us about this. When did this take place,
man.
Ron?
Oh, yeah. So that's kind of been in the works for some time, and we rolled that out. I believe it was on Wednesday night, and God, just an absolute honor to have all of the endorsements that I have, and I'm lucky to have a good many, but the one from Senator Rickenbach, that means the world. You guys know, Mike Rickenbach, like I said on my Facebook, he's a powerhouse
Indeed.
in Florence
Question.
County. Yes, sir.
Just in case somebody don't know,
Yeah.
who is Rickenbach? Explain.
So Mike Rickenbach is our senator. He is
In
our
what
senator.
district?
And it's so his
Around the
district
Florence
covers
area.
Florence County.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It sure does, and he's running for lieutenant governor. He's going to be on the ticket with Alan Wilson. But as good as he is in Columbia for us, he's an even better person.
No doubt.
So his endorsement goes a long way, and I've received a lot of feedback since that endorsement rolled out, and a lot of people were happy to see it.
That's a strong endorsement, and everybody knows Mike around here before as a businessman, an excellent businessman, and then of course he ran for the Senate seat and successful. And I see success for him way beyond that. I was with him last night, and we'll get into that in a little bit. They had Congressman Fry had a big forum out at the PAC last night. And it was a big crowd, and Mike was there and well received, and Alan Wilson received a lot of applause, and a lot of that people love Alan too. But I think Mike had a lot to do with that too. As you said, he is a powerhouse around here and well respected. We're gonna, before we get into the technical part about the solicitor, and gonna ask you what the solicitor does. We're gonna talk a little about the success in your life, because to me that's very important. Where you came from, the things that you've achieved along the way. For me personally, that's what I base my vote on. I want to see success along the way, and I want to see someone of good character. And right away, family means a whole lot. Take a look at this beautiful family here. Don't we have one more picture of Ron and his family? Here it is. Tell us about these folks, Ron.
Well, man, there's some beautiful people in that picture.
Indeed.
Despite my ugly mug there on the left, but that's my beautiful wife. She's holding our son Bo, who's 15 months now, and that's our daughter in the middle, who's 12, and Just a delight, a great kid. And then since that picture's been taken, we got one more on the way.
Wow, wow.
Coming in July. So we're busy. We're a busy household, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier, and you and Zeb got a lot in common because he's navigating this podcast world, and he's got a family of his own with a wife that's pretty busy working. So Zeb, I guess you can relate to Ryan's pace, huh?
Oh yeah, I know he's wide open, dude. I mean, if his we say 15 months, if his 15 months old is any wide open as mine is, I know y'all are all over the place. So especially when on the way too, you know, that throws I'm not gonna say a wrench in there, but it's some added difficulty for sure.
I know you're itching to get into the substance, but again, as I explained earlier, I think there's so much to learn from someone from the personal aspect. So let's stick with the picture for a moment.
Yeah.
How you and your wife, where did you meet? Where's she from?
So my wife, and she's up there now, but she's from Wakefield, Virginia. She's in Virginia this week. I'm kind of Mr. Mom this week, but she's up there handling some family business. But she grew up on a 5th generation farm in Wakefield, Virginia. And just by kind of the grace of God and luck, she ended up at the University of South Carolina School of Law. Okay. And then later she moved to Darlington, which is where I'm from. And we kind of met through work.
I see.
And we've been married for 3 years, and it's just kind of, it's all clicked. It's all
so you're a bit of a newlywed. So she's an attorney as well?
She is. Wow. She's an attorney in Marlborough County. And then she's a part-time city court judge in Darlington, which is my hometown. And I got to brag on her a little bit.
Please.
It's my hometown, and it's my wife. She's the first associate judge in city of Darlington history that's female. So we were really, really happy when she got that appointment, and you know, big thanks to county council, or city council rather, for putting her in there.
So, and that's why I bring this, the private life up, because I tell you, success attracts success. So you're already telling me something about the makeup of your family, because that's, again, success attracts success. So good stuff. Ryan, tell us, tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, I grew up in the sprawling metropolis of Darlington, South Carolina. So I'm just down the road from Darlington. I had a great childhood, biblical childhood. Parents raised us in church. My parents were Sunday school teachers. It was church and really the ball fields. And I grew up playing football, basketball, and baseball, and eventually went to high school in Florence at Burns Academy, and football was a big part of my life. And then graduated from high school and went to Fayetteville, North Carolina, which you're probably familiar with.
Indeed.
Your time in the Marines, Zeb as well. And I went to Methodist University. I played 1 year of college football, and then ended up transferring to the University of South Carolina, where I wrapped up my undergrad. And then from there, I took some time off, but then eventually found my way to the University of South Carolina School of Law.
Man, I like you more because football was a big part of my life. I played at Presbyterian College. So let's take a little poll here.
Yeah.
This is unrehearsed, right? Zeb, what position do you think this man right here played? He kind of looks like a quarterback or wide receiver. He's kind of got that finesse look to me.
Well, I don't want to get myself in trouble too much here, but you tend to put on a little bit more weight as you age.
He's still slim.
I'm gonna go with the I'm gonna go. I don't know, safety, dude. You look like you pretty fast.
Don't reveal it yet. So I'm going wide receiver.
Okay.
Jack Wright, what position do you think he played in football?
Water boy.
Maybe I should have, Jack Wright. Maybe I should have.
You and I are the same size. That's what I'm going by. The only thing I played in high school was the devil.
We all know Jack Wright. We all know. So give us the reveal. What position?
Okay, so you guys are all over. You're kind of close. And safety, I did play safety in high school, but I went my main position in high school, and then later in college was running back.
Okay, outstanding.
I toted the rock a little bit.
What was that 40 time, Ryan?
Oh man, it was not fast enough, and that's why I was only 1 year of college football, not in the pros. But I was quicker than I was fast. I'll say that.
Okay. So you refuse to tell us your 40 time?
I think the best I ever got it was like a 4.54.
What?
So
Come on, man, that's smoking.
I could shake a little bit.
I was 4.9 when I was barefooted on my best day. Yeah. But my claim to fame wasn't speed. I understand. You were an athlete then.
I tell you what, I miss it. I miss it all the time.
you learn so much.
Oh, yeah.
On the gridiron, do you not?
Oh, yeah.
Some of your success today, I'm sure you would contribute to coaches. Learning to win and lose. Football is just a plethora.
Yeah.
Of great attributes that you carry on with you, right?
100%.
So-
And being a prosecutor and a team of prosecutors, you got to have that. You got to have that team mentality.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be working together, and people want to see you leading from the front.
You just send chills down my spine. I still remain friends with all my college and high school football teammates. I was down at Carolina Cup with two of them that live in Camden, and all of them are successful. I'm going to tell you something about that gridiron and other sports as well. It just breeds that success.
Sure.
Jack Rock's from Lakeview, and I tell you, they've got stable of athletes. A lot of them went pro over the years, and that no nonsense on the gridiron in Lakeview after they got out of tobacco fields just developed a lot of champions there.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah. And I played ball with some tough guys, and they
no
made me
doubt.
tough, and it teaches you a lot about life.
Yeah, you got that quarterback look about you.
Well, maybe I should have played a little quarterback. Maybe I should have. But
He's got the Renfro look.
I like grabbing that ball and running downhill, man. That's what I like to do.
No doubt. I like stopping. I played linebacker. I like stopping you guys from running downhill.
Well, I'm putting a move in the gap. I try to get away from you, Rodney. Now, I don't want
Well,
you.
you must have done it well because you still got that good smile with those good teeth. So
not
nobody
too
knocked
bad.
out the teeth.
My mouthpiece is working.
I'm gonna make you run an Oklahoma drill out here.
Hey, don't pay him no attention. This was a private school athlete back there, so don't. Just kidding.
Hey, I played
They
one.
won state
I played
championships.
D1AA too. Don't come on now.
My man.
Yeah,
my man.
Charleston Southern, right? Yeah, it was Charleston Southern.
I did 1 year too. Don't worry.
Okay, outstanding. Okay, so let's progress a little further. School, the South Carolina went to school law there and
did.
graduated there, and then coming out, what was your first experience in law, so to speak?
So I went, interesting story, but I went to the University of South Carolina for undergrad, graduated in 2009, which is probably the worst time in the world to graduate from college. So came back here to Florence and worked for an HVAC company.
Okay.
And did that for a while. Quickly realized that I needed to make a switch. So ended up applying and going to law school. And then I was fortunate enough, the first job that I got out of law school was clerking for, the best judge in the state of South Carolina, in my opinion, my humble opinion, and Farrell Cothran out of Manning, South Carolina. So that was my first job out of law school, and it was a great one.
Right.
Great one.
Look, I like that you ventured into the work for HVAC. I mean that'll keep you grounded.
Oh,
Stuff
yeah.
like that keeps you grounded,
Oh,
right?
100%.
And, when you come out of that industry, because I worked construction for a small period of time and quickly learned that wasn't my tea. But in that realm of work, you did learn a lot of the blue collar stuff, and that's people that right now that you're going to be working with in this upcoming
Oh,
job.
yeah. Listen, I grew up with a work ethic. Now, my daddy made sure of that.
Okay.
And even in law school, my dad during that time was the caretaker of a cemetery over in Darlington. So anytime that and at that time they still hand dug all their graves. So not only I had a clerk job for the House Labor, Commerce, and Industry Committee, but anytime that he needed a grave dug, I'd race home and dig that thing and make a little money.
Okay.
So I've got a great work ethic, and I owe all of that to my father.
That's so important. Family is so important, and how we raise our kids too. Same thing. My dad was a tobacco farmer, and me and my brother put more tobacco up on our arms than anybody I know, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world today.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Yeah.
good stuff. Darlington's home of a lot of good people. A lot of people don't know Cecil Chandler
Oh, yeah.
was raised in Darlington. I
Yeah.
know the corner over there. I saw the mayor last night at the forum, but Darlington's rich full of good people, man.
It sure is.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have asked for a better place to grow up and people to learn from.
Yeah. So Jack Rock and I were talking here prior to that, and he's so true. When you hear the word solicitor, senator, we know, House members, we know, and these various positions we know, but a lot of people, and I'm sure some of our artist audience does not know what a solicitor is and what they do. So let's pause for a moment and let's just educate the folks that don't know the job of the solicitor.
Sure, and it's understandable. It's kind of a wonky name, and I think we're the only state in the country that has this position known as a solicitor. Everywhere else in the country, it's known as district attorney.
Yep.
So that's what it is. It's the district attorney for this circuit, which is the 12th circuit, which encompasses all of Florence County and all of Marion County. And the solicitor is the top prosecutor in that circuit. And it's an important position. There's only 16 circuit solicitors. There's only 16 circuits in South Carolina. So it is an important position. Think about it, Jack Rock. I mean, every major crime that happens in Florence and Marion County is going to land on the desk of the solicitor. And he's going to decide where that case goes, how it's prosecuted, who's going to prosecute it. Policies that are instituted by the solicitor will have a long-ranging impact.
Yeah. Such an important position. And you look, you're a polished package, but I'm also quickly understanding that you can be a bulldog. And that's very much needed in this role, is it not?
Sure, and I have gotten that reputation a little bit.
Good.
I've been fortunate enough to be placed in some positions in the office where I've handled the biggest cases that have come in the office. And just for clarity, right now I'm the violent crime prosecutor for the 12th Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
So all the murders, all those cases are landed on my desk, and those are the cases that I'm handling. And I've handled some big cases. I've tried some big cases. I have the experience for this job.
Yeah, I see your commitment in your eyes. So tell me this. You know, it's a rough environment. You know, you take that home with you, and it's easy to bring you down because you see the worst of the worst. How do you balance that? Because you've got a great demeanor about you, but the things you must see has got to bring you down. How do you deal with that?
Well, you have hobbies and you focus on family, but I'll be honest, we do see the worst of the worst. You see a glimpse into the darker side of humanity, but you also see through these cases the bright side of humanity. When you have a mother who's crying on your shoulder and you can bring her justice, you can give a family peace. So you can make victims whole, and you can keep the community happy, and they know that what you're doing for the community is a worthwhile endeavor, and that, counteracts any negatives that might be associated with the job.
So you have to balance sensitivity,
sure,
with hardcore, to speak, right? Which is a
yeah.
difficult balancing act,
right? And every case is different. Every case is handled in a different way, and not every case needs the hammer. I'll be honest, Rodney. I mean, a lot of it is about having compassion as a prosecutor. But make no mistake, you have to have in your toolbox, if you're going to be the top prosecutor, you have to have the ability to get in the courtroom, get it done.
Right. So I'm gonna still teeter on the personal aspect. So I've got a discerning spirit, and you alluded to it really quickly that your folks taught Sunday school.
Sure.
What part of spirituality, how does that play a factor in your life personally?
Sure.
And perhaps even professionally?
So, I grew up in the church, but I won't deny, I'm no biblical scholar or anything like that. And my wife makes sure we go to church, and I listen to my wife because I'm a smart man, and we raise our kids in the church, and it's an important part of our lives to make sure that we're, I guess, and not only in faith, but in anything, just striving to be better today than we were yesterday, and tomorrow better than today. And it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, amen. I don't know what I'd do without that portion of my life, to be quite frank with you. I see those dark times that you must experience.
Sure.
And the only way to get past that, if you're a spiritual person and you believe, because we can't do it on our own. Simply can't do it on our own.
And I see the solace that the faith brings victims of horrific crimes.
Right.
And there's no mistake in that. And a lot of times, we'll sit in a victims meeting, and my boss, Ed Clements, a lot of times will offer prayer. So,
right.
It's a big part of the healing process, in my opinion.
Right. I've known Ed for some time. I don't know the terms of the solicitor. Is it 4 years?
It's 4 years.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I guess I did know that. And he's been in for 8 years, right?
Shoot, he's been in since 98.
Okay. So so you can run as many
Oh yeah, he's Ed Clements first took office in 1998. And he's been serving ever
Yeah,
since.
yes, that and come to think of it. Yeah.
And to be honest, before that it was Dudley Salibi,
I
and
remember.
I go to church with
Marlboro County, right?
with, he was Florence and Marion County.
But he wasn't his family from Marlboro County? Maybe
could
not.
be right.
Maybe not.
And Miss Salibi was going to get me if she hears this. I can't remember exactly how long he served, but I think he served for over 20 years. So there's been a lot of stability in the solicitor's office between Salibi and Clements.
My mind was going, we got a lot of things going on. Of course, the governor's just 2 terms of 4 years, but Governor McMaster's came in on a 2-year term and got to serve 2 terms later. So I guess that was on my mind. And I think about the ag commissioner, Hugh Weathers. He's been in for about 20 years.
Yeah, he sure has.
So we'll see a big change.
Big change.
Ed just decided to retire. Is that the
yes,
case?
Sir. Yes, sir. He's decided to retire and hang it up, and deservedly so. He's been doing.
Been at it a long time.
Been at it a long time, and I'm thankful for him. He gave me a job after my clerkship, and I'll always be indebted to Ed Clements.
So he's a musician. What's he going to do? Bang on his guitar now?
He probably will, and you know what? He deserves that.
Yeah, indeed, he does.
So just hang out and play the guitar.
Yeah. So before we get into a few questions, and Jack Rock and Zeb may have a few, but tell us some of the major issues that will be coming up that you'll face. Just educate us on that.
Yeah, you're gonna during this campaign, you're gonna hear probably a lot of issues. I think the main issues are gun violence, violent crime, and I'm at the tip of the spear on that. I've been the violent crime prosecutor in this circuit for 7 years, and that issue is near and dear to me. You're also going to hear about the backlog. I mean, make no mistake about it, COVID slowed us down, and we're still trying to dig out from under that. But backlog is a big issue. And then everywhere is talking about recidivism, but probably no more than the rural communities.
That's a big word. Tell us what that means.
Recidivism is the Jack Rock. Recidivism. You
tell us what it means, Jack Rock.
Recidivism is the
recidivism, Jack Rock.
Spell that.
Now don't ask me to spell it.
Ask Ron to spell it.
Recidivism is the revolving door. So somebody is constantly bonding out and picking up new charges just over and over and over. And you wouldn't believe how much that strains your smaller rural police departments. And, when they lock up somebody and then on Friday night and they're locking them up again on Saturday.
What a deterrent for law enforcement.
It is. It is. And so those are the 3 big issues. There's going to be a lot of issues on the table. But right now, I think those are the 3 big issues and the 3 biggest things that I'm going to tackle as solicitor.
So the backlog, certainly we all know that COVID did play a role in that. Sure. But is that also because are we experiencing more crime today? Because, it's really hard to understand. Social media has played such a part that, I see shootings all the time. And I don't know if it's just happening more or more availability to the social media where we all know about it now. Is there more cases of crime today than yesteryear?
100%. There is more. Now, I will tell you, it has come down a little bit. But it's something weird happened around 2018, 2019. Crime started to spike. And then COVID hit. Crime has been steady going up. Now it's kind of tapered off a little bit, but we still have a ton of cases coming in the door. Right now, it might shock you, but in Florence County alone, we have 9,000 warrants pending in our office.
What?
So we've got 12 lawyers working those general sessions cases. And that's not to mention our 2 juvenile prosecutors that are handling juvenile prosecution. And if you have been watching the media, juvenile crime, now that is on a upward trajectory. I mean, it is through the roof. So we've got a big undertaking, but we're more than capable of getting that docket under control, and we will.
My gosh, at the warrants, you could have rid your office of one up. Did you bring Jack's warrant with you today, Jack Rock?
I didn't check. Maybe I should have run a background check on.
Me and Zeb will give him up. We'll give him up.
I'll fess up.
Hey, he was a little hesitant to come here today when he knew that the potential solicitor was going to be here.
Anything you need to fess up to, Jack Rock?
I already talked to Jesus about it. You can't do it no more good than he can.
Very good.
Despite that package, Jack Rock lives a pretty pure life.
That's
Yeah,
good.
he's a Jesus lover, and he's a good man. So discount the look. You know,
Rodney, I think I saw Jack on a wanted poster in one of them movies I was watching the other day. One of them Western movies. Jack Rock was on there. I think if we grab that, turn it in, we get a $10,000 reward.
was that one of the? It was one of the 1950 westerns that you saw Jack Rock on.
Might have been before that. That was
Jack's 92 years old.
He's been looking at Liver Man.
Liver King.
Liver King.
Liver King.
Hey.
Well, you know, I said when he got out of the car just earlier, I said, man, he better shape than I am.
Oh,
He got the guns over
he's
here.
definitely in
That's for
shape.
sure.
I bought them at Walmart on sale. You get 2 for 1.
That's all right.
When I told you to text when you arrive here, because we're in the studio back behind Zeb's house, and what a studio, huh?
Oh yeah, this is Zeb.
State of the art.
Fantastic. It really is.
But I said you called. I told you to call me, and we'd let you through the fence to get in the back. And Jack Rock was out there, and I had to say, do I want that to be your first exposure? Jack Rock leading you back here.
I think that was a good first meeting. I think it went well.
Maybe when you win. That's a positive.
That's a positive. I tell you one thing I did have was beard envy as soon as he stepped in that truck.
He got a nice
When
beard.
you win, you let me march you into the first courtroom.
That's fair. All right. That sounds good.
They'll know what they in for.
Don't you do that.
Okay. All right.
He knows better than that.
So Ron, not to put you on the spot here,
No,
but
man.
so the backlog. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of what's the plan? That's no easy task.
No,
How
it's
do you address something like that?
Well, we got, I tell you, there's no secret sauce really, Rodney. I mean, there's not. You got a lot of it, a large portion of it is you got to roll your sleeves up.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get in there, put your nose to the grindstone and just get it done. And we're doing that right now. We're chipping away at the backlog, but we're gonna get more efficient. You see other solicitors' office in the state, they've found that when you kind of section off into teams, a violent crime team, a drug team, you can be more efficient. So that's one thing we're going to do. We're going to establish dedicated teams within the office. And you think about it, it makes perfect sense. If your violent crime team is just looking at violent crime, they become an expert in violent crime and moving those cases. Whereas you've got kind of a jack of all trades, might look at an attempted murder and the next case is a shoplifting. And so they kind of bounce around a little too much. And so we're going to get more efficient in the prosecution of the criminal cases that land in the solicitor's office.
Ron, I've done quite a few things in my life. I've bounced around a little bit, but I find that best practices, just see what other folks are doing. And
absolutely,
look, there's no shame in grabbing best practices.
Oh yeah,
about all the great ideas have already been
100%
invented. So it pays to have friends and look at what other folks are doing that are successful, right?
I tell you what, and that's what I've been doing. And I just rolled out an endorsement from the solicitor in the 15th Circuit. You may have seen it on social media. That's Jimmy Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down there, made sure I sat with him, and I want to learn how he does it, what works well, what maybe doesn't, what can be tweaked. I'm going to learn from every sitting circuit solicitor who wants to teach me. I want to know how it's done and how it's done well.
Bravo. I know Jimmy quite well,
Yeah,
and
good
he is
guy.
a shining star.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to break in. I've been in politics my whole life. The reason you getting all these endorsements, they know you're going to win.
Well, I appreciate that.
You
It
ain't
means a lot.
endorsing nobody's going to lose. These big guys know you already the solicitor.
Well, I hope so.
Well, they have a lot. His character. They have a lot of confidence in folks.
They know.
I would agree. A lot of people feel that way. But let me step back. Somebody like Jimmy Richardson. Jimmy Richardson's going to pay attention to who you are, and if you're capable of doing it, then that's what's going to make his mind. He's a gem down there, and everybody loves him. And he's like you. He's a nice polished package, but he can bite down.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about him.
Oh, he's a heck of a trial lawyer. And I'm telling you, you got, as a solicitor, people really underestimate it. You've got to lead from the front. The top prosecutor in the circuit should be able to handle the biggest cases in the circuit. You've got to go in that courtroom, and the community has to have faith that if the worst happens to this community or to you or to a loved one, that the top guy in that office going to handle that case and be able to handle it really, really well.
And that sends a message. I agree with that in totality. It starts at the front, and it's a tough environment. But I even think that the bad element that is out there watching, and when you got a solicitor that are about that sends a message, does it not?
100%. And you see it in every circuit where you've got solicitors who are leading from the front or in there mixing it up. You see that it's effective in kind of curbing the crime rate.
Right.
And in fact, I was down meeting with Senator Greg Hembry,
who was the solicitor
and
prior.
And I was getting some tips from him. And we sat, and I was
good man too.
Oh my gosh, he's a great guy. And I was so thankful that he sat with me and kind of imparted some wisdom. And he said the same thing. He said, I said, what makes a great solicitor? And he said, you got to be the guy. Yeah. You got to go in there and you got to be able to try a case and handle all the big cases that come in. He said a lot of great things, but that was one of them.
Yeah. So Hembry's now the senator.
Sure is.
Down there. He progressed from not a progress, just a lateral move, so to speak.
That's in Horry County.
That's in Horry County.
Question.
He took over his big thing is education now within the Senate.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Since we're talking about politics.
Sure.
Something that our audience will be interested in. You got any idea how many senators there is from the county of Horry County?
Okay, this is why I brought this. You point that finger at me, and you asking questions. How many times I told you not to ask me no questions?
Pay attention to me.
And now you're putting him on the spot. Why don't you just tell us how many?
How many you got down there?
At one time, there was 5, the last count I had, and they had 13 House members. But I think since our senator from Marion County, what's his name, Kent Williams, I think that made 6 senators. Right. From Horry County, because he's in that district now, right?
In the lower Ainer type.
And there's either 13 or 15 House members.
There's not that many, but
there's at least
abundance.
13. I counted one time. But anyway,
I'm
not gonna argue with you.
I dispute that, Jack. Don't worry about it.
But I got one.
So step aside. You're wrong, Jack Rock, but go ahead.
I don't have to referee you boys.
Next time we meet, you let me know. Somebody on there will know.
I could count them up right now, but I'm not going to waste that time because I know them all.
Okay, here's one more thing I want to throw in there. What y'all were talking about before I so rudely interrupt.
No, man.
My dad taught me. And you talking about this reminded me of in the question that you asked him. When I was a kid, my daddy told me the way you make it in life is you watch other people. You study them. You learn what to do and what not to do.
Absolutely.
And that's where you're talking about in the solicitor thing. You've had, 7 years, and you've watched them all. Sure. You watch how they operate and all this kind of stuff. And now you got it here. And you're getting all these people backing you now because they know you got it on your belt.
Well, I appreciate that.
They got confidence in you.
Yeah.
And let me tell you one of the most important things that y'all hadn't thought about. Looks goes a long ways. I don't care where you're at.
Well, that's why you made it so far, Jack Rock.
He had to show the guns.
I can't help it, man. I can't help it. I used to be clean cut like you when I served for him.
When he was on county council, you wouldn't recognize him from now to when he was on county council.
Ronnie, you got to send me a picture.
I need to put one up here so everybody can see. He kind of forbids me to do that because he likes his.
Oh, boy, I was the most well-dressed guy in the county, weren't I, Ronnie?
But you still couldn't hide that crazy, Jack Rock.
Hard to hide it.
So, Ron, I'm not going to really question on this but I know one of the big issues is judicial reform.
Sure.
And that's a big thing now within the legislature. I think the House has passed it, and now it sits in the Senate. But that addresses many things like the legislator picking the judge. I mean, you can obviously see some conflict there, but that's not really. It's pertinent to bring up here, but that's not something that you would be faced with.
No, it's probably not an issue that the voters need to consider for whether or not to vote in the solicitor's race, which, by the way, I could argue is the most important race on the ticket. But listen, that judicial reform, that's for the legislature to figure out. I can tell you this. the judges that we have currently in the 12th Circuit are second to none.
Good deal.
They're phenomenal. They're great judges. They're great judges for every party that comes before them. And so I can't argue with how they were picked.
Right.
I mean, they that system worked for our judges here.
Yeah.
And that's really all I
You know
can
what
say.
the answer to that is?
Yeah.
If you got a motor and it's running good and ain't using no oil, why would you want to rebuild it?
Tell you what,
Good
that's a pretty
point.
good analogy, and I might steal that from you, Jack Rock. Might use that in a closing
Right.
argument.
I mean, if you were having a problem, and I can see the argument, and
Right.
you can too, we can understand the argument. But let's get to the motor part of it. The motor part of it.
You gonna send him a bill for that advice, or was that freebie?
No, because the kind of life I live, I'm gonna need his help.
I hear that.
Not true.
If
not
you
true.
don't believe it, ask Judge Birch and his son.
Oh, Mike's a
Who is
great
the
guy.
solicitor
Oh,
in our
man.
area now? Yeah,
And I graduated.
He's
with Mike
our
Birch.
solicitor.
yeah. So you graduated with
I
Mike?
graduated with Mike Birch.
Wow, yeah, great
fantastic guy. And when I was in law school, it's called the JOE program, Judicial Observation and Experience, and you get to tag along with a judge. And
Mhm.
I was lucky enough I tagged along with Judge Birch.
Yeah.
And so,
So-
I know that family well. Good people.
Yeah, they are. I've got to know them quite well. I actually knew Judge Paul way better than I knew Mike. And then I got to know Mike once he was running in our area. And I know his wife. His wife was an economic developer for Chesterfield for many years, and I think she works for one of the co-ops. But you're right, just a fantastic.
Oh,
Let
good
me
people.
share something with you. Y'all pay attention to me out there, y'all people from Dillon County. This guy was the county administrator when I was on the county council, and this Judge Birch that we talking about came before his council and threatened sending all of us to the penitentiary. He had the sheriff to pass out handbooks. You remember that?
Let me soften that up a little bit.
Please do. Please do, Rodney.
Because I don't think the judge threatened anybody. He was just letting everybody know the proper protocol.
Make it sound good, politician. I was on the council.
I tell you what, Judge Birch, he's a phenomenal judge.
Yeah.
He's a good,
Hey,
good.
and he did a great job with it.
Zeb, have we not talked about your mute button when we see Jack Rock getting ready to take off? Well, let's start utilizing that thing when you hear this kind of stuff. He brings life to the.
Oh,
Rodney
yeah.
is such a great guy. I'm telling you, in case you don't know him.
Oh, I know.
He's too good like this stuff I'm talking. I tell it like it is. He's too good for his own good.
Oh.
He should have never, ever wrote the word politician down. What if I ask you, since you're running for solicitor, what if I ask you what the true definition of politician is?
Oh,
What would you give?
I wouldn't be able to answer.
You got
True-
to have an answer for
true-
it because
true
some
definition of
idiot like
politician.
me might ask you. Do you know what the true definition?
Well, so I'll use the synonym in my mind, and that's servant. That's what that to me truly that's what it is.
Well,
Servant.
I'll tell you why I can't define it, because I'm not a politician.
Right.
I'm here to tell you, I'm
Right.
not a politician. I'm a prosecutor.
Yeah, good stuff.
And that's what separates this race than other races on the ticket. I'm not getting involved in the politics.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, to be honest with you, it shouldn't be a partisan issue.
Agreed.
What I'm preaching and what I'm about should reach across party lines. Democrats
Okay.
and Republicans alike should like the policies that I'm going to put in place.
Let's fill the public in
Yes, sir.
on part of your job.
Yes, sir.
Me, the only reason I know anything about a solicitor and a judge in my older age is I help the homeless and drug addicts out the best I can. And I told you about that earlier.
Yes,
I
sir.
have Judge Birch help me out. When you go in and you get sworn in a solicitor,
Yes, sir.
he's talking about how he's doing this and he's doing that and tied up and all. How many people you gonna have working for you doing your job for you?
I'm going to be doing my job.
No. How many people's on your staff?
We've got about 40, 45 people in the
See what I'm talking about? The man's going to be sleeping to 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Not this one.
Not me.
Not this one.
No, ain't no way.
But before we get through, I got a statement I want to make pertaining to what we're talking about lawyers and solicitors.
We'll get to that in a minute, Jack.
Okay.
Right?
I tell you what, though, he brings up a good point. I mean, you know, there is room for that. I mean, you got to be careful on who you are electing into the position of solicitor, because people can just let their staff do all the work.
Your staff is you.
That's
right.
right.
That's why I started off with character.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Oh, yeah.
I see you running up front. And any
listen.
successful, not politician, servant is going to run out front. And
That's right.
That's why I brought that up to begin with.
Yes, sir.
So got one final, we're going to get him out of here because he's got somewhere to be.
I'm here hanging.
But I got a couple questions for you. Before we do that, ask and you shall receive.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
How about it, Zeb? See if you recognize this fella here. Can we make it bigger?
Oh,
Hold on. How many months are you there? You look pregnant in that.
That was before coronavirus hit.
That's when he was my county councilman.
County Councilman Jack Rock. I tell you what,
right
you're
there.
looking pretty sharp there, brother.
So Ron, let's we're wrapping up now. So talk about the pure pace of this time of your life when you're having to politic. I mean, it's brutal. Is it not, the pace?
I tell you what,
especially with a family.
Yeah, a friend of mine says, you know, and I think a lot of people say it, politics that's a contact sport. And it really is. I mean, it's wide open. So you got to have supportive people in your corner. And my wife is, you know, head and shoulders above all my supporters, you know. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to have her in my life.
So important to have that at the house.
Oh my gosh, she's fantastic. She's a good lady. And, you know, we're trying to slow down and enjoy what we've got going on, Zeb, right? We got kids at home. I don't want to close my eyes and open them up and the kids are grown, you know, so I'm trying to enjoy those little feet running around the house and things like that. So we're taking time to do those things and still campaign in the right way and be out front and make sure that we're doing all the right things we need to. So the people of the 12th Circuit know that I'm a worker. You know, I'm coming to work. Right. On day one, I'm going to make sure the staff, Jack Rock, I'm going to make sure me and that staff are working together to give Florence and Marion County great product. And that's justice for the people.
Good stuff, sir. So as we end, let's just give you the final word. And, anything you want to share with the audience. And we've had a slew of comments.
Great.
We're not, you know, we'll take a look at your comments and we'll address them when Ron leaves, because I see a lot of other stuff, a lot of about that picture.
And I got one statement I want to make before you get through.
We'll go ahead and make yours, because I want to give him the last word.
I want to give everybody out there advice about him being a lawyer and a solicitor. My wife's daddy was a lawyer, big criminal lawyer, big time. She's got a brother, big time lawyer. All in the family of my wife's family, lawyers. My association with lawyers in my political realm of life, don't ever, my kids want to be lawyers. I talked every one of them out of it. Why? Because you talking about a love. You got to love what you're doing to be a lawyer, because your whole life is dedicated to nothing but lawyer. Even a lawyer assistant do not have time to even go out to eat supper or go on a date nowhere. Now, I'm telling you what I know. Now, all of them might not be like what I see, but the bigger you get in your law firm and the more business like you becoming a solicitor, your time in your life, and you talking about hard work, putting in tobacco was hard work. But you talking about mental and physical torment being a lawyer. And I thank God that not one of my children become a lawyer.
Well, you know, I think that's across the board on anything. It's just how far are you willing to take it. So I think that's across the board with any profession, Jack Rock. So last word. Tell us.
Well, let's see. What I want you guys to know and the people of Florence and Marion County, I think, is this, right? There's going to be a lot of issues that are going to be discussed. There's a lot of things that I want people to tune into. I want them to know about the backlog. I want them to know about gun violence and violent crime and recidivism and drugs and those types of cases. I want you to pay attention to both candidates and what their policies will be, right? I want you to do that. I want you to be educated when you go to the poll. But when you do go to the poll, when you eventually go in there, the last thought that I want you to have before you walk into to cast your ballot is this. If something catastrophic, something awful were to happen to me, my family, my loved ones, this community, who do you want as the top prosecutor in this area who's handling that case? Do you want somebody who's tried dozens and dozens and dozens of murder cases? Do you want somebody who knows what they're doing from the moment they shake your hand and introduce themselves as the solicitor for the 12th Circuit? You want somebody that's going to bring you justice, and that's me.
That's powerful. That's a powerful statement. How can folks support your campaign, website, whatever
Sure.
you have?
Yeah, go to ryanwhiteforsolicitor.com. I'd be honored if you go and check it out. You can see what all I'm about. There's also links there to my Instagram, Facebook. You can follow me online. Please do, because we're posting videos, we're posting endorsements. I want you to follow along. And the last thing, you wouldn't be a politician if you didn't throw this in there. But campaigns can't run on fumes.
Absolutely.
I got to have gas in the tank, because Florence County's big and Marion County is much smaller. I mean, I've got to educate folks on who I am from Johnsonville to Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, I got to have a little bit of money in the campaign account. So if you feel compelled to, you can go on the website, you can find that donate tab, and you can throw a little money. Anything is greatly, greatly appreciated. But please tune in to this election. I'm telling you, if you gave me long enough, I could make a compelling argument. It's the most important race on the ticket.
Yeah, you've convinced me. I mean, all politics is important, but this, I agree, is a very important spot for us.
Absolutely.
Listen, I want to thank you for taking time.
My pleasure.
To be here. It's I've got to know you in the last couple months, but this is excellent here talking with you here today.
Appreciate you, Rob.
Wish you the best of luck. And look, we'll see you out there, right?
Hey, listen, I want to come back on the show maybe in a few months.
We'd love to have you.
Okay, sounds good.
We'd love to have you.
Thanks again.
So we're going to transition out. We're informal. We're going to say bye-bye to Ryan. Hope you have a great week.
Thanks
maybe
again,
we'll see you at the Arts Fair.
Yeah. I'll see you down there.
Okay.
We'll be down there in Lake City with all my good friends down in the low end of Florence County.
Good deal. Well, you go home and be Mr. Mom.
Yeah, I got to pick up the kid from daycare, and then we're heading out. But thank you, Rod.
Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Jack,
yes, sir.
Appreciate you, man. I'll see y'all soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye now.
All right, Zeb, transition back on here, and we'll carry on with the conversation. Jack Rock, we might even pull your picture back up here. Somebody says here, ain't no way that's Jack Rock. Somebody else says, what? No way. Zeb is using AI to poison the well. Well, I'm missing part of that. And let's see who else is on here. Okay. Mercedes is back with us here today. We've got a great audience. So we're going to dive a little bit into politics, guys, when we get our political expert Zeb back here in the center, kind of guiding this thing. Jack Rock, I went last night to the PAC, that's the Performing Arts Center in Francis Marion, and Congressman Fry had a forum there, and it was well attended. He had every governor candidate in that forum last night, and it was well done, I must say, well attended. He had they came out, instead of a debate type atmosphere, the congressman sat down with each of the candidates, and he asked them virtually the same questions. But I got to tell you, every one of those candidates did exceptionally well. Started off with, let's see, who did they start off with? The senator from upstate, Josh. I can't remember Josh's last name. He did quite well. And then Nancy Mace was on there, and I'm going to tell you, she presented extremely well in that atmosphere. Alan Wilson was, I think, next, and a lot of substance to the Attorney General. He laid out some very strong points, and I'd have to say that he was probably the fan favorite there by far. Mike Rickenbach was in attendance, and that's his pick for the lieutenant governor. So it was a big Florence crowd there, followed by Pamela Evett, who did quite well as our current lieutenant governor that was serving. She made some great points. And I had to leave, but finally there was Ralph Norman there. And I had a couple calls this morning. A lot of people felt like Ralph Norman performed really, really well. Very strong conservative in his beliefs, and he laid out he's laid out a pretty good plan all along. But the couple people that called me was really impressed with him. The thing is, you got to wonder who can get traction at this point, because, the primary, is in June, and we're upon it now. So, any traction that you better get right now. So Zeb's been he follows politics pretty strongly.
I try.
Let's go through the candidates.
That's right.
Let's go through the candidates, Zeb, and give me your take on each of them.
Specifically, first of all, I got basically the same feedback from last night. That you got that Ralph did really well out of the field. Obviously, it wasn't a debate. I haven't watched it, but politics in general, and most people know this, is that it's a name game. You got to play to that strength a little bit. And so I guess if we're gonna go ahead and one by one this thing a little bit, we can start with Nancy Mace. Obviously, she has the most, I guess, nationally recognized name, and I think she is doing well in the polling. Hopefully, it'll go to a runoff. I guess I can throw my cards out there that I'd prefer Nancy Mace not be governor of South Carolina. I think that's not a crazy position to take at this point. But I think I think she does have a good chance. I would like to see a runoff. I would like to see the governor's race go to runoff. I would like to see the Senate race with Lindsey Graham go to runoff. And so, I just enjoy a little bit of action here. Get something going, Rodney. Let's not do the same thing over and over. I mean, we get Lindsey Graham for 30 years, man. We know what we're getting, and it ain't good right now, especially on a national level. And it is reverberated on the governor's seat. So, I would like to see maybe a little shakeup. I don't know how much shakeup there is. Kind of throwing all of them under the bus a little bit. They're all kind of built within this box, this frame of politics from the 2000s, the statesmanship, and there's no rocking the boat at all across the board. And so, this thing that keeps perpetuating, this machine that keeps going, is at some point you got to recognize and say, hey, man, the iceberg is in front of us. The ship doesn't turn that fast. We need to figure something out here. So I don't know what that answer is. More than likely, I will put my efforts behind Alan Wilson and Mike Rickenbach. Obviously, Rickenbach's in the backyard, so we got a little bit of investment there. So, that's where I'm at. And I think they do some good. I think Wilson does. He speaks well. He shows himself well, and that's good for the state. That's good for the governorship. And then you have who else we got? Pamela Evett. Did Pamela Evett make it last night?
Yeah, she was there.
Okay, so she was there. I mean, she's essentially a Trump cutout, which I mean, a few of them are to some extent. And this has been politics for the last 10 years at this point, that you get on Trump's coattails and you ride to victory.
So Zeb, that's a great point, and I got to tell you, here's where I kind of differ on that a little bit. Everybody says the Trump endorsement, and last night kind of the talk was that nobody's really expecting the Trump endorsement of this. They all actually kind of addressed it, and I think the underlying statement that was they all thought that he would sit out on this. Now, you said all within a box. So I agree with that. I agree with that too. Except for one. Now, my card's on the table too. Mike Rickenbach, a local guy, and I've known Alan Wilson for a little while, and that's where I land, unapologetic, for a number of reasons. They've got years of demonstrating, doing great things. And look, also, when you're incumbent, and nobody's an incumbent of governor, of course. And Master's been there for 10 years. He served in 2 terms, and then he had that portion term that he took over. But, when you've got a record to point at, it's easy to throw darts. And, of course, somebody like Alan Wilson has a long record to throw darts at. But he really, I think, represented himself well last night in a lot of ways. But here's my point. Trump. I want a governor that stands on their own, and I hear that too much from our candidates. Trump, 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 Trump. Trump's the president. He's where he needs to be. Your governor can stand on its own race. So I get, it's not attractive to me when they keep calling his name like he's going to be their savior. You run on your own merits. The governor race deserves that. And so back to one more point, though. Everybody's within that box, and there's something to be attractive about that box. And she was in the box last night, but I think probably Nancy Mace kind of steps out that box because, you never know what she's going to do if you watch her social media. But the funny thing about that is last night I saw totally different. I mean, she was packaged very well together in her presentation, and I didn't see a lot of that. What words? I mean, sometimes it looks chaotic. She didn't look chaotic at all last night. So I think maybe some folks might have warmed up to her last night, but I would say that Wilson probably won that debate. Some people might have said that Ralph Norman I wish I would have stuck around for it. He does have a lot of good policies, and I like his conservatism, but I think probably Alan Wilson came on top last night. But so, we've got limited time now. And so much can still happen. Politics is crazy.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of time left, and I would say that you made a point that I would strongly agree with, maybe even more so than you hold it, is that the governor needs to be able to stand on their own. Not only stand there on their own, but I hold the position that the governor's seat of every state is the most important seat in the country. The governor's seat drives the nation as a collective, right? And so if we have, if we have strife throughout the United States and we all see something coming, the governors have the ability, the decision, the power to actually, let's say, we don't have a Republican presidency in 28 and we get a Democrat, and then obviously they're probably going to win midterms, and then they gain control of essentially the entirety of the federal government. I mean, you're going to want, in the same way that Maine and Minnesota and these governors are kind of bucking Trump to an extent, you're going to want a strong governor to be able to buck the federal government at least a little bit in the way that we're probably going to get some leftist authoritarianism coming down the road. And so that they are kind of the bulwark as a state, holding the state away from the federal government as it was built in to be, maybe less so now, but I'm not trying to get myself in trouble here. We're not, we got a confederation going on, but the point stands is, I do hold, and I think I got like a whole hour video of trying to explain why the governor's seat is probably the most valuable and efficient seat in the nation.
So Jet Rock I think you want to bring a point, but before you do that, let me, Masters, he's had 10 years. And look, I'm gonna applaud him. You're right. The governor's seat is so important because, it's the face of the state. And what have we done here in this state in the last decade? Well, we became the fastest growing state in America. Now, you've got to give the governor some of that credit. And near and dear to my heart is, of course, economic development. And we've grown exponentially. We'll be teetering on 6 million people in this state here very shortly. And all that's driven by economic development and certainly lower taxes, which, we compete very well against other states. So I'm looking for that person that can take what has been done and continue to carry it. But with, and I know Zeb will agree with this, but with, thoughtful growth. We, at times, I think we are outgrowing our infrastructure. So we've got to reset, and we've got to make sure this infrastructure's in place, or it's going to end up being a disaster. Jack Rock, I think you had a point.
Going on what you and Zeb have said about these, especially you, about the governor candidates at Francis Marion last night and how good all of them are, seem to be.
I think they would all
good
serve us
perform-
well, to be
Yeah.
quite honest with you. I just have a favorite.
And what Zeb said, my reaction to that is Donald Trump don't know everything going on. He's got too much on his plate. He has advisors. If I had been Donald Trump's advisor, and me knowing what you and Zeb said, and the advisors know this because you got one for every state, I would say, to keep him updated. And I'm going to say this on top of all of it, what you and Zeb are talking about. Isn't it so great to have a state with such great candidates
Agreed. Yes.
running
Yeah.
for the main seat of the state? And here's my answer to what you and Zeb are talking about. The candidates. This would have been the year for the advisor to tell Donald Trump, you have got some of the greatest candidates. You already own the state of South Carolina. You've owned it every time you ran. So this would be the perfect year with the great candidates to stay out and not endorse any candidate.
So you must have read my mind. So great point. That question was sort of asked to all of the candidates last night, and I felt the overwhelming response was they all kind of thought that he would stay out of this one. He has a friendship with probably all of them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I don't think it serves him well to endorse anybody. I'm not upset with any of those. I think we'll be well served by all of them. I just particularly think there's one that will that's qualified to do a little bit more than the rest. Let's transition to something a little different.
Hold on, before we do,
Yeah.
Just one statement. Y'all sound like politicians politicking for politicians. I just want to lay that out there.
How so?
I'm the only one over here wanting to throw stones at.
So know that it's coming from I know most of the candidates know it's coming from a sincere place. I think they all can do quite well. I really do. There's not one that I go, man, that'll be tough. Now, there's times that I look at Congressman Mace and say, well, that's a bit too much. But here's what you can't deny about her, even in her defense. She does get things, she gets things done. I mean, there's no question about it.
I got one thing to say about what Zeb just said and what you just said. I'm going to tell you, somebody that's not kept up with it one bit at all. I don't do Facebook. I don't watch the news. I'm just a voter out there. And here's my opinion about it. When I drove up in Zeb's yard, no offense to anybody out there, but he's got a sign in his yard. It says Wilson and Rickenbach, ever how you say it. There's something about those two names that just when you walk in the booth and you see it on the thing, it's got that drawing power. Just the two names has got, and I'm not trying to endorse either one because nobody cares about what I say, but that Wilson and Rickenbach has just, when you walk in that booth and you're somebody like me that don't know what's going on, it's got a ring to it.
However, great point, but I'm not sure, and maybe somebody can tell us, and maybe you know, I don't know that Rickenbach's name will be on that ticket. I don't know if they put them together when you go in that booth and vote. It may be just Wilson.
Wilson.
It might not include their.
That's a good question.
I don't know, though.
That's a good question.
So certainly we can find that out pretty quickly. Do you know?
So the public will know.
I don't either, but I would venture to say that it's probably just the governor on there and not. Yeah. But point taken.
They put the vice president.
It does yell out of the back door quite well, doesn't it? Wilson.
Oh yeah. It's got a ring to it.
Yeah, they do. That the vice president.
I would imagine the lieutenant governor would be on there too if the vice president's on there.
Well, this is all new to us. As little as a couple of years ago. Where,
it hadn't been long.
Where he was elected. The lieutenant governor was elected on its own
I got something to bring up.
Well, just bring it up. Just bring it up.
Have you ever noticed the state of South Carolina, how good we are about doing away with elected offices? Yeah, even in our home county, the list used to be this long. You voted for tax collector, you voted for dog catcher, you voted for game warden. Same way with the state.
So I don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I remember.
I mean, you were in it. You would know.
I got old ballots at my house that my daddy had. Now, where he stole them or not, I don't know. But all of them are on there. The Board of Education, you had to vote for that. So,
well, not in Dillon County.
Even in the state, over the years, we have done away with, like, lieutenant governor, for example, and you made me think of how many offices. Okay, adjutant general. Nobody knew what that was when they went in the booth.
Right.
But we voted to do away with it.
Yeah, that's where that name recognition
You know what I'm saying? Adjutant general, lieutenant governor, and if we had a list, there's a lot of them statewide.
Right. Dog catcher. I can't imagine voting for dog catcher.
You even used to have to pay dog
Can you
tax.
see the dog? Can you see the dog catcher on the stump?
Did you know that we used to have the old people used to have to pay dog taxes? They'd ask you how many dogs you had. And in the state of South Carolina, you don't pay one dime of taxes on if you got $10 billion worth of farm equipment. We did away with farm equipment taxes.
We got to fact check that. You know that for a fact.
I handled that stuff. I was auditor when we did away with it.
I'll be dog.
Yeah. No taxes whatsoever in the state of South Carolina. Did you know?
I'm talking about dog tax. Who would ever even think about a dog tax?
Next time I come to this podcast, I'm going to bring a ballot.
That would be cool.
From 1942.
Please do.
My daddy was House member. At that time, you had 2 House members and a senator in each county. And I'm going to bring the ballot and show you. Right. And then you know what you're going to do? You're going to apologize to me in front of all these people.
No. I just said I can't imagine that. I didn't.
You've called me a liar.
Call you a storyteller, and I don't even use that word.
That's what you used to do on the stump when I was a kid. You called me a liar. If you'll step down off of that stump.
I did not.
Now you're another liar. That's what he used to do on the stump, boy.
So, guys, let's talk. Let's digress a little bit. Okay.
The answer to that question is they are listed together.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, they are.
Yep.
So it will be on the ballot.
It will be on the ballot.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That's what young generations do. They can find it in a hurry, man.
What was it?
They are on the ballot. It will be Wilson.
They'll be listed
Rick,
together,
yeah.
like president, vice president, because
so
that's essentially what they're running.
Take your sign down.
This is the first time I learned something on this podcast with you two knuckleheads.
First time?
The first time.
You want to call him a liar again, Jack?
He ain't a liar. He just stretches the truth.
I'm a fib. My mom always just said, "Don't you fib to me." You know that word fib?
Yeah.
Do you know the word fib?
I know the word fib.
Okay.
That was a nice Christian way of saying.
That was my mama. Until she got, then she followed. If she found out I was fibbing, then she followed up with that branch that I had to go tear off of a tree that she'd wear my tail out with.
No soap in the mouth.
No, I never got.
You didn't brush your teeth with soap.
That was wasted.
That was wasted mouth out. The old people used to wash your mouth out with soap,
and it would have been lye soap too. Lye soap.
They handmade their soap
lye
in the wash pot. Lye soap, lye. Maybe that's where they got it from.
Fib soap. Hey, so let's digress a minute. And this is pretty simplistic in a lot of ways, but I am very curious. Am I soap in the mouth? I had to pick my. Me too, Market. That's one of your guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him. He called me and Zeb me and Jack Rock a politician, and you were the only. So he's a loyalist to Zeb. Steve Johnson, welcome in, buddy. My good friend Robbie Speaks, who they all asked about you. Thought you were coming to the Carolina Cup.
They
wanted to meet you.
Couldn't make it. Yep.
Billy and both Speaks. Maybe
we can do. We'll get together again.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. These guys have been going to the Carolina Cup since its inception, almost. So let's talk about the characteristics of a politician, guys. What is important to you? And I'm talking about personal traits. Jack Rock, what lures you to a candidate?
What draws me to a candidate?
Yeah.
Oh,
Zeb, what draws you to a candidate?
Hold on, Jack's already answered this question on the podcast today. He's trying to act all sly over here like he's thinking about it. He said, "Whoever's the most attractive, that's who I'm voting for."
Okay,
I heard that too.
Okay.
I heard that too.
Let me tell you where I got that from.
He said it.
When I was a
He said
kid,
he's voting for Nancy Mace. I heard him.
when I was a kid back in the 50s on my bicycle, I will not ever forget going to Pickett's department store in Lakeview. It was full, maybe 5 women in there. And Senator Ernest Hollins was running for the United States Senate seat, his first term. And I won't never forget, every one of them 5 women were in hysterics over Ernest Hollins. They were going to vote.
He was tall. He was a tall,
good-looking guy and run them 5 women completely crazy. So I said to myself right here, don't run for politics if you don't look good. Because the women ain't going to vote for you.
So besides looks, what do you cast your vote on, Jack Rock?
Boy, right off the top of my head, I thought you ain't got me.
All right, he's about to fry. He's about to fry right now. I'll go ahead and give him some time to think about it. But I guess while I answer, where's my? Oh, there it goes. I guess what I would say is it depends. It obviously depends on the seat. It depends on the time period of which we're voting for. So, and then I would say it also depends on really the person himself, right? You always obviously want to look for some type of authenticity, to pull out of that political sphere. This is why Donald Trump got so much traction when he was running. This is why people like Vivek is still running as an outsider in Ohio. These people want outsiders because they don't want politicians. And, I guess that's kind of a baseline moving forward, but also, I kind of labeled the other candidates for running for governor, or all the candidates running for governor, kind of inside of a box a little bit. I want someone that's willing to not stay outside the box, but at least step outside. We got to ruffle a little bit of feathers.
You don't want a factory built. You don't want a factory built politician.
No, I want a little bit of feather ruffling. I want some action. This politics is turned into a spectacle to some extent now, and I want it to play that way. I want the entertainment because the entertainment brings change. It brings attention and it brings change, and attention brings more information. It brings more educated voters typically, and so because of that, I would if we're going to run on a quasi democracy, I would rather have a relatively informed electorate. Yeah. Right.
Let me ask both of you a question. You asked me a question. When you're trying to decide who to vote for, how strong are you, Zeb, Rodney, on voting against the person holding office? It don't matter how long it's been there or who he is. Do you have that pull to vote against him?
I think it's a good question, and I think a lot of people do want to see an incumbent get knocked out. I think that's natural.
It's an underdog type story to an extent. Exactly. I would say it depends on, obviously it depends on the candidate, but I would say as long as there's no like major mess ups, like the one that comes to mind is why am I blanking? Who'd you work for? Why am I blanking right now?
Tom Rice.
Tom Rice. Yeah. Wow. Tom Rice voted to impeach Trump in 2019, 2020, or whenever it was. Like that was a major misstep for him in his coming reelection cycle. And so like that paints a target on himself. As long as you're running as a politician, or you're a politician, as long as you don't like make any major missteps that completely undermine your entire constituency, typically you're fine. And that's what most politicians do. They try to fly under the radar to an extent. Now you have exceptions, like I think Nancy Mace is one of these where she wants that controversy, but you have a lot of them that want to fly under the radar because that's how you just keep getting reelected.
And Zeb, to that point right there, that's what I strongly dislike. I kind of want a maverick, and that was the allure to Trump. I kind of want that maverick that wasn't factory built, wasn't raised up in the young.
I didn't say it was good. I'm just acknowledging.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
The young Republican, Democrat, charting out your life to be a politician. I think when you chart out your life to be a politician, that's the wrong path. I think you're a servant, you get things done, and then you say, I think I can navigate this area and make everything better for folks. To me, you've got to demonstrate to me that you've had success all through your life, because history will tell you who you are. If you were that successful student in high school, or if you were that football player that advanced, or whatever it is, if you advance in all stages of your life and you've demonstrated that, then look, you can be my candidate, because I feel like you're going to demonstrate it in that arena too.
Can I push back on you?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. Yeah,
I think that approach, as a baseline, lends towards an older generation governing. Is that what you want? You want, I would say, probably late 50s, 60s, 70s. Is where you would end up. I think that track record would be almost necessary. You would have minor exceptions to this rule, and so people coming out of, I guess, college or just coming out of maybe one of their first front end jobs that were quasi successful. Let's say Tim Scott, Lindsey Graham, these types that they are career politicians, but when they were coming in, they were halfway successul. I think that kind of lends to, and I'm not saying that's wrong or not. I think that lends to an older generation holding office.
So you're talking about entering the arena late?
Yeah, later. Because you're kind of laying the groundwork. You want multiple accolades going through.
No. Okay. So I would align with you on that. No, I mean, even if look, I want younger people in. And they're stepping up. I want younger folks in now. I really do. They need to demonstrate at some point in their life that they're successful and they've got what it takes to advance something. Look, that could be at 25 years old, Zeb. I got no issue with younger folks coming up, but demonstrate to me that you've got the ability to do things. I don't want to take a chance on somebody that hadn't demonstrated in their short period of life that they're successful, that they've got a competitive spirit.
How old's Ryan?
He told us how old he was. He was 40, right? Isn't Ryan 40? Hayes asked a question. Wasn't Ryan 40 years old?
How old was Ryan?
Didn't Ryan say he was 40 years old?
40 years.
Yeah. So, and to me, that's young, but look, I'll vote for somebody in their 30s. How old are you?
40s.
I ask you this all the time. How old are you?
34.
So look, 34. I could support Zeb Boykin at age 34. To me, I've seen you demonstrate intellect. You went through the Marine Corps. That's another thing. I like a military. I like a military person because they've demonstrated they can follow orders, they can dish out orders, they can go when hard times hit. I like a military candidate, so I could support a 34-year-old Zeb based on what I've seen in your life.
Okay, so you just as a baseline want them to do something outside of being catered to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
okay,
I can sit in a room. I could sit in a room right now with 15 people, and based on the conversation, I can tell you who's a politician.
All right, I'm running for governor. Rodney Berry's running my campaign. Ready, set, go. Well, how many months we got? 4. Let's ready, set, go.
You know something I've noticed about people picking who to vote for also? You got people out there that will vote for a candidate that he or she knows is going to win, but they'll vote against them anyway just to show them there's somebody out there that watching you and that you ain't who you think you are. You need to be careful.
You giving us a gander into your mindset now, Jack Rock. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. And I think that's true.
Yeah,
I think that's
very true.
I think there's a little bit to it, but I think it works in the reverse also, right? Everybody wants to be a winner, and if you vote for the person that wins, you would
Don't
psychologically feel like you won. So
here's the first thing you'll learn when you're a young person starting to get involved in politics.
Go for it.
You never voted for a loser.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't you go to a crowd and tell them
That's right.
that you voted for him and he lost. It don't matter who's running. You voted for a winner, boy.
Well, let me ask you this. Here's another thing that I base my vote on, okay? Unapologetic and just straight up, because I think there's blessings, and a lot of politicians don't pay this any attention whatsoever. I think a godly man or woman with Christian values, I think their agenda will be blessed. I think they'll make decisions. So many of our issues out there now can be easily solved by really Christianity. How important it is for your candidate to be a Christian? 0, or is it very important?
Oh, you asking?
We'll start with Jack.
Let Jack.
Oh, man.
Is that important to you?
Really, I would list that on about as stupid of questions you could ask.
Why?
I mean, we're living in the Bible Belt.
Yeah. So is it important to you that your candidate's a Christian?
That's all everything is about when you believe in the Almighty Creator and His Son and the Holy Spirit. Because the Holy Spirit's going to lead and guide and direct you.
Right.
He's going to keep you out of trouble.
A blessed path. A blessed path.
Yeah. So even down to voting. Yes, the Holy Spirit's got everything to do with voting spiritually.
So that's important to you, that your candidate is a believer.
100%, man.
I'm not surprised.
Man, you almost making me shout just asking the question.
That's all. You shout, man.
Making a Pentecostal holiness out of me.
Speak it.
Hey.
All right, Zeb, I don't know what Zeb's going to say. I know he's a believer, but I don't know what he's going to. I don't know how important that is to him.
Well, I mean, I would say not only is it the highest priority, I would even take it a bit further and say if I had the ability to make it a requirement, I would.
Wow.
At a minimum. I think if you can't profess the name of Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you should not be able to run any state in the union. Period.
To me, brother.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Matter of fact,
Done. Next.
That's
Also, we're going to put the Confederate flag back at the state capitol. So
he had to take it a step further, didn't he? That's your other podcast, Zeb.
you laugh, but that is a significant issue in the state of South Carolina right now. Yeah. You want some solid votes? You say you're going to put the flag back up at the Capitol and see what people say.
Yeah, well, it was very much a contentious point here a couple of decades ago when all that came up. What are the characteristics, guys? What a man or woman, does it matter? Does it got to be? There's some people I know, because I've talked to them, they will not vote for a woman.
Okay, before you go any further, let me try to
this
clear.
is an attack podcast right now.
Not intentionally. I realized that when I started talking. I saw you
Now,
growing.
y'all know from my past statements, I'm going to take up for the females. Okay, Now listen to me. Listen to me careful, everybody out there, especially you females. We'll relate it to a female preacher. Okay, female politician. You know yourself that the average man is going, and some women going to say, I don't want to listen to no woman in a pulpit. They ain't do it, but that there woman on television, I forgot what her name is.
Paula White.
Who?
Paula White.
Well, no, there's another one. I forgot, but she's the top female preacher in the nation.
She's talking about the older later.
But anyway.
They're all the same. Go ahead.
Anyway, here's the point I'm trying to make. Female preachers. When Jesus rose, us talking about spiritual talk and politics now. When Jesus rose from the grave, who showed up at his grave?
You asked that question last week, and I told you not to ask no more questions. It was Mary.
It was Mary. Okay. What did he tell Mary to do?
There's another question. Just speak your mind, Jack Rock.
He told Mary, go tell it. Go tell it. Well, if that's true, who was the first preacher?
You're so far off here, Jack. I mean, that's so circumstantial. What does Paul say?
Yes, according to where you're at with the female.
Paul says plainly The Lord God says plainly through Paul,
No.
I do not permit a woman to preach or teach.
Wait a
Done.
minute.
End of story.
There
Close
was
the
a
book, over.
situation behind that. You got to do the Hebrew writing.
You're equating.
You go
saying
back
the British
and
are
study.
coming, sending a message to
You
preaching
go
and
back
teaching. That's crazy
and
talk.
studied the Hebrew writing and what provoked Paul to say that about a female.
So, friends, you're
let's
you're now experiencing the first fight in the lion's den. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
No, let me tell you this here. Wars are started over religion.
Indeed.
Not Christianity, religion, because there's a difference between religion and Christianity.
Right.
You understand?
So my point is this. I didn't want to get that far in the weeds. I talk to people, even there's some women that won't vote for another woman. Now, full disclosure,
Because they understand women.
So, but I would vote for one. That wouldn't deter me. That's not a stumbling block for me in that. All right. So next thing before y'all.
It should be.
I need to throw something in there on this.
Okay.
All right.
Please do.
Listen to me carefully. I've always, in my lifetime, people come to me and want a political favor. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to agree with me. You're going to agree with me on this one. I can go to any man that's holding a political office, and me and him can sit down and we can talk and we can agree on a compromise of this person's problem. We can come to agreement. Might have to lean a little bit. You know what? In politics, you have to lean a little bit. Lean this way, lean that way to get somebody out of trouble or favorable. You go sit down and talk with a woman about it, and you start leaning this way, she's calling the sled. You know what I'm talking about. You're holding back, but you know exactly. When you were a congressman, I could go to you, and me and you could work something out. I could go to this girl that's on here that was your accomplice and talk to her about it, the same problem, and she'll say, now, wait a minute, you think that's really legal? That'll be the first thing they ask you. Yeah. And you got to, in politics, you've got to lean a little bit to help people.
Right.
You can deal with men, but you can't deal with a woman.
Okay.
So that's where a lot of that comes in at. Female and male not wanting to vote for a female. Yeah. I'm telling you what I know.
Robert Speaks, help me out here. I sure did get right in the middle of a war, did I? That was not anticipated at all.
I love it. You know why? Because he made me realize I still got it.
I saw some passion.
I'm ready to go.
Physically against that big boy?
Oh, I can outrun him.
I don't know. I'm slimming down. I think I might be able to catch you, old man.
Hey, you know what I tell him? Like I do everybody I run into that want to start trouble with me. You win.
So how about military experience? That doesn't seem to matter anymore to folks.
Don't.
It does to me.
Clinton,
it does to me.
Bill Clinton said Bill Clinton went to Russia. You remember how they protested in the Vietnam War and all? Well, Bill Clinton went to Russia. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And protested the American Vietnam War. He had never pulled any time in the military and ran for president and won, and he started that. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be... Everybody was a military person. Yeah. That was the only way to get elected president.
Yeah. You know, it just demonstrates so much being in the military. Yeah. I wish we had more in there. Zeb, you served in the Marine Corps. What about your political candidate?
I mean, I might have a little bit of a different take here. Okay. I don't put that much weight into it itself. But I would say, and this is one of the main turnoffs back in 2016 for Trump for me, and we can, I want to dive into that a little bit, was he dodged the war 4 times on college, and then 1 time on medical, he had a foot issue or whatever. It's, when you're dodging the draft in Vietnam, and then you want to come in here and specifically with the Iran war right now and send troops overseas. I think that if you're going to do that, you need to have a little bit of skin in the game. This is across the board with any office, is having the skin in the game. And again, I'll go back to the senators in South Carolina. They have no skin in the game across the board. They're 50 and 70 years old, 57 and how old is Lindsay? Like 70 something. No kids. They have no skin in the game for the future of the state and the country. And so you're going to have a skin in the game, or if you're going to be a politician, you either have skin in the game or experience in the venue that you are playing in. And this venue of commander-in-chief is military. And
absolutely.
so I would say it's not necessary, but I would say that you shouldn't avoid it, one, and two, your kids should be, if you're in the ballpark of sending the Marines or the Army soldiers, or if you're willing to bring up a draft, I think you should have a little bit of skin in the game, especially, I point at Barron Trump at this point. I think we need to have a little bit of self-reflection, see what's actually going on here.
So I can align with that in totality. I heard a comment on a popular talk show podcast. They didn't really like the generals making the decisions because there was probably a favoritism toward going to war. I see it totally opposite. These generals, these colonels, they know what war looks like. They're going to avoid it at all costs unless it's necessary. So
let me add one to you there,
yeah,
Rod. Let me add one to you. I mean, I would agree. I would agree with that. But now we're in a position now where we have the Department of War, the head of the Department of War, Pete Hegseth, and Donald Trump are, combined have fired essentially 12 generals that I would assume have just kind of stepped in the way and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing what we're doing exactly right now. And so, we just remove them, and then we get the generals in there that we wish to have.
So that took a little bit of work on your part to discover that, but that makes total sense. Most people probably didn't pay that any attention.
Yeah.
But the fact that happened, probably those guys were showing some opposition.
They removed opposition. Yep.
Yeah. So how about this, guys? Whether it's a senator in your county or your district of counties, whether it's a governor of the state of South Carolina, senator, how is it important to you that candidate or that person lived in that territory? It's kind of skin in the game. Is that important to you, or would you welcome an outsider coming into South Carolina, running and not being a born and bred in South Carolina, or in a county? Or a congressional? Did they move into the congressional district? So, Hillary Clinton,
I got my answer. You go first, Jeff.
She moved into that New York congressional Senate district to run. How does that sit with you?
In certain cases, I think it's the case. You have to look at the case of circumstances that's involved. You can't just condemn.
Well, to me, it's too opportunistic. They just want to run to get a title. I'm going to run an area because I love that place. I want to protect that place. It's who I am.
Didn't Hillary and Obama do that?
You probably didn't hear me. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that's who I was speaking about. That was one of the examples that just came to the top of my head.
Okay,
Hillary moved in to run for that Senate.
Obama moved to Chicago for that purpose.
Yeah. So you're indifferent about it. Depends on the.
In them two cases,
yeah,
I mean, there's not even any discussion.
Yep.
Boy, that's a hard one, right?
Okay.
That's a hard one.
I respect that. I receive that. It's not hard for me. Zeph?
I mean, I think the answer as a general is yes. I would prefer them to be from the place that they are trying to represent. One, because you know the people. You have, again, skin in the game. But then you also have a culture, right? You have the thing that is like intangible that you can't really show everybody. Hey, I did this. Hey, we do this here. It's there's intangibles that go along with that, and there's a rapport that goes with the culture and the society that you are building, right? So if I move to New York and I run in New York, I can win. I could probably do decent for New York. But it's not, there's no reciprocation there because I'm not a Yankee. I'm not from New York. And so there's going to be a little bit of a disconnect just from the get-go. On top of that, I mean, I would say, I kind of think back to the Know Nothing Party and their policy system. I think they were trying to implement something along the lines of a minimum of 7 years. Currently 7 years in dwelling in the location that you're running. So
see, here's where the catch to that is, and the reason I'm a little reluctant on answering it. When you start talking about New Yorker moving down here to Erie County and running for county administrator, head of it, I got a little problem with that. But when you talking about somebody from right across the line here, North Carolina, that's really part of the beach. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
You got different, because he's really a hometown guy.
Yeah.
He's from Concord, North Carolina, spent half his life down here visiting and doing a little business, whatever, got property down here. Then he decides to retire down here and run for county council or whatever. You got cases like that. It's not so bad, or even Virginia, maybe, as long as it's a southern state.
So you prompted me on something, and I'm already know Zeb's answer to this. You said come down here, retire, and then run for office. So what does age mean to you in a candidate? What does age mean to you in a candidate? You have a cutoff in age? Too young, too old?
Not really, because I voted for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You can't get no older than that unless you voted for Biden.
Okay.
Yeah.
So age is
and if you voted for Biden, you ain't gonna tell it.
Age is a non-factor. Let me go ahead and read your mind. Age is a factor for you, Zeb.
I mean, it's a factor. I mean, I don't have a hard deadline. That being said, I would like to tend towards the younger generation, right? This is even if we go back to the founding, right? Most of them were in their late teens, 20s, early 30s. I mean, the oldest one was obviously Benjamin Franklin. Then you had one or two in their 50s, one or two in their 40s. But most of those guys were in their 20s around that age when they founding. And all throughout history up until I don't know, man, really 30 years ago, we didn't even have an older office seats. I could go back and pull the numbers on the average, but usually it tended towards closer to 50, 55. And now we're obviously sitting somewhere late 60s, early 70s, if not. What was Dianne Feinstein was 90, 92 or something like that. So
I got something that I want to throw in there before we knock off. Zeb and I get a little loud at each other about a woman preacher. You know what it reminded me of?
Woman preacher ain't a thing. Stop saying that.
Now listen to me careful. They had no air conditioning back in 1776. There was 52 people in that room. There was 52 people in that room arguing with each other over the Declaration of Independence. Can you believe what kind of arguing was going on and who won the battle? And, yeah. It amazes me. And every one of them pouring sweat, in that, locked up in that room.
All right. Well, let's end with this, guys. We're coming to a conclusion. And I already know the answer to this as well, but we'll just never get it done, okay? So, I prefer younger folks running. Here's what I don't like. I don't want you running at 22 and still be in there at 62.
Yeah.
With all of God's given talent that he puts on this earth every day, we've got people we can go to time and time again. We don't have to keep people around forever and ever. And I don't even talk about this no more because it frustrates me. Term limits would alleviate a large percentage of our problems in politics, but it's simply never going to happen because in order to get it, it's those in office that's got to vote for it. But for the sake of conversation, I'm 1,000% for term limits. I think it would solve many of plights in our political system. How do you feel about term limits, Jack Rock?
We can look at it like this right here. When you got a building full, let's say Congress, 435 members of Congress, and 2/3 of them got a diaper on, making decisions of the nation. It's time to make a change, man.
Yeah.
You remember Strom Thurmond, 98 years of age, and they had to pick his finger up and punch the button.
Yeah, too
You
much.
got Mitch McConnell right now.
Now, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
And it's that that's how the bubble gets created, because it's a mindset. Once you get in there for a period of time, you no longer really know what's going on outside that bubble. And it's been, it's truly, it's a hard thing for.
before Rickenbach got the job that he's got, what was the senator's name that held the
Leatherman.
Leatherman?
Yeah, yeah.
I spoke to him at the restaurant.
Mhm. Yeah.
He didn't not making fun of him.
Yeah. No, because he did a lot of great things.
Great
here.
things.
He served a lot.
He paved that highway from Johnsonville to Lake City,
Yeah.
and there weren't 3 cars a day went on it.
Yeah,
4-laned it.
But he did a lot in this area.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really want to pinpoint any particular person, but I do believe term limits.
But he was a good example.
Yeah.
Strong
Yeah.
Thurmond. You could go right on
Yeah.
name.
Zip.
Yeah, I mean, we did a full podcast on this. I'm sure you remember, and
Yeah.
maybe people watching have seen that podcast. And I'm not convinced that term limits would even really change that much. Obviously, it would change, the age of the people. But I think the foundational understanding of kind of where you're coming from is that these people actually vote their conscience to start with. I think they're largely puppets. And inciting term limits would just cheapen the ability for them to buy puppets, whoever them is.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not convinced that again, you said it's not going to happen. I agree with you. I'm just not convinced that term limits would even
I got a
fix
question
anything
for both of you. See if you
itself.
can answer this question for me. I hated to interrupt you,
I'm done. Go ahead.
but when you're dealing with my
I finished.
you train of thought. Please explain to me what happened to Rand Paul. We talking about age. Well, he ain't all that old. What happened to Rand Paul?
I don't know.
He fell off the turnip truck.
About,
You know what I'm
about
talking-
what specifically?
Anything he's against anything Trump does or the Republicans. You hadn't been noticing that.
That's not an old age thing or a brain thing. That's
I know
his.
it, but I'm
Well, his
comparing that.
foundation is libertarian,
Yeah,
and so
libertarian.
anything that is relatively authoritarian, he is going to be absolutely against. And a lot of this is coming from this idea that essentially a nation can run itself in the modern age, and it can't. I mean, if we were back in 1700s, Rand Paul would have something to stand on, but he simply doesn't. I mean, he's pro open borders. He's against the Federal Reserve, which is great. But you got to couple that with other things. He's anti welfare to an extent, and so there's a lot of things that are kind of incoherent when it comes to it. And so what happens is he lashes out specifically against Trump, and certain policies are pinpointed, and then he's anti everything across the board because it just snowballs.
You remember Trump told him when Trump ran the first time, Rand Paul ran for president also.
Mhm.
And Trump looked down there at him and said,
He is getting
this
old, though.
guy's had a bad hair day.
Mhm.
I say he ain't forgot that yet.
I don't, even if their stance is contrary to mine, I still don't fault them, because if they're passionate about what they believe, good for you. I'd rather somebody have a stance than be a rubber backbone.
Yeah.
So guys,
I would agree.
We're gonna call it a wrap. I hope you all have a great weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful weather. I'm gonna get out and plant a garden tomorrow. You plant a garden, Jack Rock?
Just a
Little
you
something.
can, when you're living by yourself, when you're single,
Right.
you can plant no bigger than what this desk is right
Yeah,
here.
it is. Yeah.
You can plant 3 squash plants and you'll never eat the squash.
You
Cucumbers, you ain't gonna eat all of them. You plant 2 plants, 2 tomato plants, so
There's a plenty. Squash
Yeah.
grows like crazy, doesn't it?
yeah. You got to pick them every day. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being here in the Lions Den today. I don't know what we got planned for next week, but I'm pretty sure we'll have another candidate on next week. Hey, we thank you for joining us. As we say, we're the front porch of the weekend. We're hoping we're kicking it off for you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time in the Lions Den.
Welcome to the Lion.
Hold on.
Cool.
I was trying to do it quick. Let's do this.
Welcome to the Lion's Den. Grab a seat and join the conversation. Let's dive in.